Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about Brit Eady suing Bravo. Okay? First of all, I saw this coming. And I say that because if you guys remember, there were talks around the time it got leaked that Kenya did what Kenya did, right? And of course, Kenya was denying, but there were talks and rumors of allegedly Brit Eady going to the network and allegedly threatening to sue them, which is part of why Kenya was let go, allegedly. Okay. Now, I feel like at the time we thought like they were rumors, but now it's seeming that even though they may have been rumors, there is more to the story than meets the eye. So I do want to talk about her post also and my thoughts about the lawsuit. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. And now let's get into it. So first of all, are we surprised? If you were in Brit Eady's situation, would you not try to sue? I want you to be honest. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment section below. Because think about it. Brit is not stupid. Brit knows that Real Housewives of Atlanta is not for her. I think we've all seen the season so far. We can tell that Real Housewives of Atlanta is not the right fit for Brit Eady. And I think she also is aware of that. She has seen it. She has seen the episodes. She's watched them back. She has played it over and over again. She has seen the level of exposure that comes with the show. And let's be honest, it's not everyone's cup of tea. When you think about how your private life gets exposed, there's already things allegedly coming out about her husband. There's stuff coming out about their marriage allegedly. There is stuff about their insurance company and business and all these things. All these things are coming out allegedly, right? And when you think about that, that is just a tip of the iceberg, right? Compared to what could come out over the next few seasons if she continues to be on the show. So say what you want, I don't think she is as slow as she appears because she has sat down and thought about it. Clearly not a good fit for this, and maybe I need to be looking for actual compensation of some sort. So last week on Thursday, we discussed the fact that Britt did not show up for the reunion. We talked about the seating charts. And Britt then went on her story to give us a little 2 cents. Now, I've read it so you don't have to read it. But the bottom line is she is saying the photo that got Kenya fired, the photo that had all of us talking about it, the photo was not her, allegedly. I want you guys to pause on that. The photo was not her, allegedly. Imagine you thought that this was you, and then you had to endure months, weeks, almost a whole year of having to relive it over and over again, thinking it's a photo of you when it's not a photo of you. That is some crazy, crazy, nasty work. And so I'm not surprised that she sued. Now, the first question I want to say is, do I truly believe that that photo is of her? No. And I'll tell you why. Now, I want you to hear me when I say, I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I feel like Britt has done some things in her life that she knows that it is not far-fetched for a picture of her to end up somewhere out there like that. But I don't think that photo was necessarily her. So it's like, yeah, you assume that is you because you know that you've done some shady things in the past, which you're not surprised could come out. And if everyone is saying it's you, it's not far-fetched for you to believe that is a photo of you. Let's be honest, right? Especially if you've done some crazy ish in the past. That's the first thing I need to clarify. So I don't think that means that she's never done ish before. She probably doesn't have a video somewhere flying around or something, allegedly. I just think that she probably has something, but then assume that that was what it was, only to then find out that it wasn't what it was. Because let's be clear, if you're filing a lawsuit claiming that something is not you, knowing fully well that they're going to investigate, they're going to poke holes in your story, you would have to be the most stupid person on the planet to lie like that. You've already shot your credibility from the start, which is unlikely to end well for you. Because if you're starting it off with a lie, then that literally ruins your credibility. So I refuse to believe that she would be as stupid enough to lie publicly in that manner. And I know some of you will say, well, she said she didn't threaten Kenya, blah, blah, blah. That is different. Her lying and saying she didn't threaten Kenya with a pow pow is completely different, because there wasn't a lawsuit at the time. This was in the public, right? But if you're going to make a statement after filing a lawsuit, your lawyer would have carefully helped you craft that, would have told you don't say this, don't say that. So I personally do not think she would be stupid enough. Now, I really hope she isn't, because if she is, then that's on her. There's no hope moving forward. But I really hope she is not stupid enough to file a lawsuit and then put out that statement when it is a lie. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Now, I want to move and shift gears a little bit to what she's actually suing for. So, Brit Eady is suing Bravo, right? There's a legal doctrine called respondeat superior, right? Which is basically like the employer is held responsible for the wrongful acts of the employees, right? Now, of course, it may be tricky if the so-called employees are technically not employees and independent contractors. So that could make things a little bit more complex. But let's just assume that they are employees, right? For the sake of this argument. Now, she also is claiming that the statements made about her are false, defamatory, harassing, and damaging, and that the images were not hers, right? Apparently, she did not see the explicit photograph until after things had progressed. Nearly a year later is when she saw the actual images. And I think that's very important, because if she did not see those images, then she couldn't have known that it was not her until when she eventually saw those images, right? And it's crazy, because Bravo said they did an investigation. So if you did an investigation, what exactly was part of the investigation? Didn't you think, okay, let me show this lady what the images are? These are the images she showed of you. Bear in mind that word on the street is that there is a morality clause that they sign at Bravo, right? So if all of that is to be believed, right? You mean to tell me that you couldn't sit her down to say, here's what Kenya showed. When was this? Because according to your contract, you shouldn't have any of these sorts of things based on the morality clause you allegedly signed, right? And let her be able to defend herself. But you didn't show her, according to her, if she's to be believed, you didn't show her these explicit or the explicit photographs. So there was no way of her knowing for sure whether or not that was her. Now, the bit I really want to tell you that I feel like is very, very interesting. I remember when they aired it, I was saying yo, why did Bravo decide to air the footage, right? Couldn't they have left it out? Especially because they removed Kenya from the whole season. They could have just removed the whole thing. Yet they chose to include the episodes. That means they were already prepared regardless. They weighed the cost of putting out the show versus any potential liability that they may get from that, right? That's the way I'm thinking about it. Because at the time, I was just thinking, why would they air it? Knowing fully well that Britt sounds litigious, allegedly, right? If she is allegedly going to the higher ups talking about she's going to sue them if all of that comes out, and then they still air the footage. Now, of course, they didn't show us the image. They can't do that. But still, it became a topic of conversation throughout the whole season. And I know people are saying there's probably a clause about settling it and stuff like that. There may be, right? But I do think she is likely to get something. This is just my thoughts about it. It may end up being a negotiation, something dealt with under wraps. This lawsuit may be dismissed, but then there may be discussions via arbitration or some sort of roundtable meeting or whatever to try to resolve this issue, and she is likely to get something. I say that because if they aired it and made it seem like it was her, that means they didn't do their due diligence, right? So even if they were not intentional, right, in producing and airing the footage, they were negligent allegedly, or at least they were reckless, because that is quite key, right? So think about it as like, it's either the defendants like intentionally did it, or they were reckless, or then there was gross negligence. And I feel like Brit may be able to argue more for the gross negligence and recklessness as opposed to willfully, because willfully you have to show that they knew it wasn't you, yet they put that out there, right? However, if you're more likely to be able to argue on the side of gross negligence or recklessness, because according to Brit, if Brit's testimony is to be believed, according to her, she kept going to them to show her the image, but they refused. And it's like, why did they refuse? Why not just show her? So is there some sort of intentionality there? Or is it that they were just reckless and just thought, oh, we don't need to show you, blah, blah, blah. But whatever the case may be, think about it. Imagine you were on the receiving end. You don't have to like Brit. And you guys know on this channel, I don't exactly like Brit either, right? But you don't have to like her, but think about it. Put yourself in her situation. If someone put out alleged photos of you and they weren't even photos of you, and everyone around the streets started talking about you have mouths in your mouth and you have a penis in your mouth and all of that kind of stuff, when it wasn't you. And because of this, we all think about Brit as the lady who was shown to have a pee-pee in her mouth. Wouldn't you sue, knowing fully well that that is not you after you find out? Of course, I will sue them for all they're worth. Because it's either you knew that it wasn't her when she kept calling to, or kept asking to see the pictures, and you didn't show her the pictures. It's either you knew it, or at least you were reckless, or you were negligent in not checking, not verifying whether it was genuinely her, which could have been easily done by sitting her down and letting her see the photos, right? So I think that they would really struggle to argue and feign ignorance, if I'm being completely honest. That said, I think the big part is, what has she signed? Because, you know, their contracts that they sign be airtight, right? So I don't know what she has signed. Maybe she may have signed something that stops her from being able to sue them for anything like this. Now, that is quite key, because if she has signed something like that, then that might be a problem. But I do think maybe Bravo might try to get her quiet by other means, by giving her a settlement outside of court. But I do wonder, is this their karma for how they have treated a lot of people on the show thus far? Is this their karma? Are they finally getting back what they deserve? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I think what's also interesting is she talks about how Bravo contributed to the hostile work environment and her being XS harassed, right? Because they subjected her to a offensive sexualized behavior and comments from her cast members, basically. So she's basically arguing, or she's trying to sue them. And of course, if Bravo do not show up, then a default judgment of about 20 mil, not less than 20 mil, with interest and the cost would be awarded. Now, Bravo are definitely going to show up. I'm sure they already have lawyers on speed dial for these sorts of things. I am not surprised at all that she is suing. I think that if we remove the sentiment and how we personally feel about Brit, I think we will understand why she is suing. I do think she's not a good fit for the show, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm glad she knows she's not a good fit for the show. But it must be so heartbreaking. Oh my goodness. It must be so heartbreaking to find out that it's not you, and you've endured all the butts of the jokes. You've endured so much over the last couple of months, almost a year, nearly a year. Knowing fully well that it wasn't you. That is wild. Now, of course, that is assuming that she is telling the truth. If she's lying, then she is very, very silly. But I doubt it. I don't really think someone will lie on this scale. Get lawyers and do a whole lawsuit about it. Not saying that people can't do it, but if she still hasn't paid the country club allegedly, then I don't think she'll be using the money to pay lawyers, knowing fully well that she's lying. That's just my view on it. But let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, share, hit that subscribe button. Tap that bell button right next to it so you know when I post or go live. And please share so that your friends and family may find and enjoy this content. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll speak to you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.